Given the increasingly congested and contested nature of the space domain, what do you see as the most pressing near-term challenges for maintaining U.S. space superiority and the resilience of our critical space architectures?
At SPA, we play an active role with the Space Force in helping them understand the space environment, understand the future architectures that are needed to do that space domain awareness, which is that capability that allows us to know what's going on up there. We help our sister services understand how we can better operate on the battlefield, and space is no different. We have a number of SPA employees supporting various Space Force organizations and IC partners that are actively looking to better understand what's going on in space. That helps us deal with that contested environment and make sense of the information that we're gathering.
Now that the U.S. Space Force is nearly 5 years old, what key milestones in its development have been most impactful in addressing threats in space?
Our employees are actively engaged with the Space Force in defining future concepts, defining the doctrine, helping them instill a culture that the Guardians themselves can embrace and thrive in. And that's been a big part of standing up the Space Force, is developing those organizations, the right organizations, establishing the right policies, working on the right acquisition processes that are going to help us rapidly field capabilities.
You highlighted the counter-space capabilities being developed by adversaries like China and Russia, including anti-satellite missiles and orbital systems. How should DoD policymakers prioritize investments in deterrence and defense mechanisms, and what role does cross-domain integration play in this strategy?
It's a balanced approach where we need to be able to field systems to maintain space superiority so that our services that we're providing the terrestrial forces can operate freely and enhance those warfighting capabilities in the other domains. That is one of the great advantages of operating from space, is the ISR that we provide the terrestrial forces, the PNT we provide the terrestrial forces, the communication to do effective and timely command and control. All of those services greatly enhance the other domains. For many decades, they operated without adversary impact necessarily. And so it was great. It was a great advantage that we had, but that's not necessarily the case now. And so we need to apply policies and funding to develop the right types of capabilities on space that are going to protect and defend our space-based assets, as well as look to deny those types of services to our adversary.
What type of impact can the Space Force have?
U.S. Space Force is about 3% of the overall DoD budget. Incredibly small piece of the budget, but the impact that space capabilities provide is significant. And I believe the current administration is looking for that type of payoff, a large return on a small, relatively small investment, not just within the Space Force, but across the rest of the department.
How might deeper integration with the commercial sector enhance the resilience and responsiveness of U.S. space capabilities?
A number of efforts to enhance our satellite communications capability by partnering with commercial industries that do that. And that's a great resource. Another area is imagery. So there's a number of commercial imagery systems on orbit today, and that's another area where the larger DoD space ecosystem is looking to leverage those capabilities to augment the DoD capabilities.
With the challenges of testing and evaluating systems in space, what are some innovative approaches that can help ensure the USSF's combat readiness?
It is difficult to test and train in space, unlike some of the other domains, which are more easily accessible. And so it does present challenges. Some of the ways that we offset that challenge, though, is with our deep modeling and simulation capabilities. So we have a tremendous enterprise across the nation that's been built up over a long time, where we do exceptional high-fidelity modeling and simulation of space systems in the space environment. And that's one mechanism that allows us to deal with that challenge.
Futures Command within SPA focuses on architectures that align with the Space Force's need for long-term vision. What are some of the critical considerations that policymakers should be aware of to ensure the USSF remains ahead of evolving threats?
In addition to the architectural analysis that needs to get done and the force designs to help the acquisition community go out and acquire the right architectures. What's the right force design or architecture? What's the right technologies to help minimize cost and maximize effectiveness of those force designs and architectures? And what are the right architectures that operators are going to be able to operate in an effective manner in a wartime environment? And so Futures Command is bringing all three of those together. So Futures Command is going to allow us to assess those trades between the future architectures, the operator tactics that are going to be employed, the future technologies that are going to give us an advantage. And that's a great resource organizationally to help us achieve the results we need to achieve on the battlefield in the future.
For DoD leaders, what are the key operational implications in the space domain to secure national interests?
So we often talk about in the space community operating in, from, and to space. These are important concepts and delineations to understand. SBA, we spend a tremendous amount of time helping our guardians work through these. Getting to space is difficult, and the whole launch enterprise that has stood up and that we help support is critical to getting space capabilities in space. We want to be able to do it faster. We want to be able to do it on an operational timeline that could support operations in conflict. That is a challenge, and one that we are actively working with our government partners. Once you're in space, it can be equally challenging to effectively operate up there, not only to defend our capabilities, but to provide the services that the terrestrial forces need to execute a fight. Again, we have a number of SPA employees actively supporting Space Force operational units, Intel community partner operational units that are doing that. And it's our expertise and insights that help them get ready to prepare for those types of combat operations. We're actively working with our DoD partners to ensure that we can operate in, from, and to space, and that we can provide the right capabilities to the combat forces, terrestrial combat forces, when needed.
How critical is it for the Space Force to have integrated combatant command capabilities in joint operations and all-domain warfare planning?
Combatant command integration is absolutely critical to the success of our military operations, and having guardians embedded within those commands, helping advocate and bringing space capabilities into the combatant command planning process, as well as into any future actual operational activities, and being that advocate for space capabilities, also ensuring that the sister services and other members of the combatant command staff understand the capabilities and limitations that the space systems are bringing to the fight and into the planning process. It's all just critical. And it's consistent with how our other domains operate at the combatant command level. Each of the services have representatives there to help build those joint war plans so that we can effectively operate in a joint environment. And so having Guardians and the Space Force represented there is a natural and logical linkage to ensuring successful operations.